All right, welcome back to Kotler's Reef, part 2 of my 10-month update. So in this video, I'm going to do a brief recap as to what I have in the sump, and then going to cover what I have in the tank, where it's at, how long did it take for it to get there, what my cycle process was, and how things are doing overall. So starting with the sump, I have a ice cap K200 skimmer, which runs really well. I have no issues with it. I do have a tiny refugium, which I converted the ATO into a refugium. And as far as the ATO, it's an Neptune Systems ATK. Now, going through the tank, what I use for flow is two Gyre 3000s for my scap. I have one mounted like this, and the other one at this part of the tank. During the day, I run these in variable mode up to 50%. During the night, I have both of these pumps in variable mode going up to 100%. What this does, it keeps my sand bed more or less clean. I don't have any dead spots, and everything more or less does pretty good. The issues that I have with coral is I do have some casualties. Specifically, this guy. For some reason, every maricultured coral that I got, I've had nothing but problems with. They live in my tank for 30 days at the most, and then they die. So this is my fourth and final go at it. Then we have flower pots. For some reason, I get a couple of months out of them, and then it's not that they're dead, but they're not opening up, even though my water parameters are perfect across the board. Things I am doing well with is I do have small Euphilia garden, which is doing pretty well. It's growing, it's opening. I have no issues with this whatsoever. This acan here, although it's partially closed, it is done a lot of growth on this one. Along with this guy and this guy. I am getting some incrustation on some of the LPS. And finally, you have the Monty that used to be bleached in my previous videos. It has come back to a perfect solid red color. I do have some coralline algae growing on the back of my tank, which it took a while for this to take place. So what's been happening with this is when I started my tank, I didn't seed it at all. It was completely set up with dead rock, brand new sand, everything completely brand new. It took 6 weeks for me to cycle it. The way I did it was I filled up the tank with water. I left it going for about a week and a half or so for everything to settle out. And then I threw in 1 cube of mysis shrimp and let it marinate there for about a week. Then I added another one and another one until my tank reached a total of 6 weeks. At the 6 weeks mark, I threw in this lovely black wrasse, which has survived a massive tank crash where I had everything die, ache outbreak, velvet outbreak, everything that you could possibly think of I've had in my previous tank, and this guy was the only survivor. So I used him to cycle the tank, to help cycle the tank. He stayed in here for about 2 weeks, and from that point on, I added 4 Bang-Eye Cardinals. One managed to jump out, the other 3 guys wound up staying. From that point on, every month I would only add 2 to 3 fish at a time. It would take 40 days for me to quarantine everything, and after everything has been properly quarantined, I would throw them into the tank. Next piece of equipment that I have is this fan. This little thing cost me 26 bucks on Amazon, and it keeps my temperature cool at about 77 degrees. I don't know if you can see that on camera, 77.2. Usually I have a fluctuation of about a half a degree throughout the day. Another thing that I use is the Neptune Systems automatic feeder. I have it come on twice a day. One drum roll gives them a minimum amount of food while I'm away, and then at the end of the night, I usually give them frozen food, and I use this nori clip right here. For lights, I've been using the Hydra 26s for the longest time since I got the tank. Essentially, have my opinion on them. I'm gonna come out with a video a little bit later on. It took me a really long time to figure out which settings would work best, but it seems like everything is more or less coming together right now. For my ATO, I use a nice fancy little thing I got at Walmart. Cost me $6. Holds about 16 gallons. Can't really go wrong with that. I did start adding kalkwasser to the tank. This also helped a lot with coralline growth. I add 1 teaspoon I add half a teaspoon for every gallon of water, which is pretty much the minimal that they recommend. And lastly, I use an algae scrubber. I'm sorry, not an algae scrubber, a CO2 scrubber. This guy right here. This is a very, very good purchase. Even if you don't have an issue with pH, I still recommend getting this and just filling it out with maybe different type of media. If anything at all, maybe just foam. My skimmer, absolutely silent. The pH, because of the media, is now ranging anywhere between 8.03 to maybe about 8.2, and it pretty much stays in that range. The media lasts me 1 week, about 7 to 8 days, 8 days at the most. After 8 days, it starts going below 7.8, and naturally, I have to remove it. So that's all I have for my 10-month update. Please hit the like or not like button. Subscribe, and if you have any questions, please post them in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible.